Hey everybody, I'm here with Jamie Balcombe from Australia, and he has an incredible story to tell us about his love for surf music and the journey he's on. How are you, Jamie?
G'day, Ryan. Thanks for having me on, mate. I really appreciate it, buddy. So,
Thanks.
yeah, it was about 6 months ago. I quit my last job. Might have been probably in September last year. It was a sort of a seasonal work, and it's over. So, I decided to buy some more equipment. I was thinking, what was I going to do? Because I sort of introduced myself to surf guitar probably about 3 years ago when I sort of heard Pipeline, and I was, oh, this is really different. And then I just kept going. I just kept diving further into the scene, mate. So, yeah, so around about Christmas time, I bought some new equipment. I bought myself a Gretsch, and I bought myself a Fender amp, like a twin reverb, and I got myself a Squire Jazzmaster. But just a little side note to that is I'm a left-hander, so you have to sort of get what you can. There's not a hell of a lot of great left-handed guitars out there. So anyway, so I was getting a bit frustrated. I thought that I was getting somewhere, and I thought I was confident enough to go out there and start playing, but I didn't know where to start. So my sister actually said to me, we've got a community radio station here, 106.7 Hot FM Mildura. So I went in there, and of course, the manager was a fellow that used to work for my father in a completely unrelated occupation, going back probably about 20 years. But and he said, yeah, and I said, can you help me out? He said, yeah, just come in Friday night, because they've got a drive time show on between 7:30 and 9:30, Ivan and Fiona. And they put, if you go in there and ask, they'll put you on, like you just take your guitar in and an amplifier and just play something. And that sort of got me sort of interested in, what could sort of, and I was sort of asking Ivan, what do you think about the whole thing? And he goes, well, why did you try your own radio? Like, we've got plenty of spots there. Like, they take on basically anyone who's got a good proposal at the radio station. And if you're prepared to do the work to get it up and going, why not? So I'm thinking, well, I might kill two birds with the one stone. So I did that. And then I started going around to just local bars in my local area, just ringing them up and say, look, this is the type of music I play, like surf guitar, intro stuff. I haven't got a drummer. There's no one else. It's basically background, beer garden music type thing. So I end up getting some just it's basically like work experience. Like, pubs don't really they give you some free drinks, and you don't expect really anything. Just if they put you out in the beer garden on a Friday afternoon, well, hey, why not? So that's what I did with that. I tried to get that going. So I've started to there's two bars in my local little town here. There's like 2,000 people here in Merbein. So I've played in both of them numerous times, and most people say, yeah, not bad. It's a little bit different, but you don't sort of expect too much. It's just getting out of the house and playing. It's sort of like work experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So yeah, so just basically on the weekend, I played out at a hotel, which is a place called Wentworth, which is over that way, like the New South Wales side of the border here. And it's just reopening again, the Captain's Sturt Hotel, and they just started. The place had been basically closed for a couple of months, and they brought it over, and they're really getting it up and going again. So my friend Emily over there works in Wentworth. She says, I think they need some music. Go and hit them up. So I went down and I said, yeah, come out and play about 1 p.m. because they have a Sunday roast on. So they get a few families there, have a few beers, and it's just a real beautiful old country pub where they're all sort of disappearing now into tavern type thing. But yeah, so that's one example, and that's sort of the first sort of gig I've done sort of outside Merbein, and I've played out at Redcliffe, which is another town further on. And yeah, so this weekend I'm playing at an art exhibition out at Redcliffe, which is out that way again. So that's going to be interesting as well. So I mean, it's all different types of scenarios, things are getting thrown at you. I mean, there's always people asking, oh, can you play something off the radio? And I thought, it's not really what I do. I sort of got a set list, so to speak, and I've got about 30 or 40 tunes I can play, and I take my Jazzmaster and me Gretsch and just sort of swap them around a bit. So there was one interesting thing on the weekend. A couple got in there too, like they're twin, probably two 3-year-old girls, and they think, oh, have you got anything for 2 or 3-year-old girls to dance to? Because it was all pretty casual atmosphere, and gee, so that's another thing you have to think of, so to keep people happy. So I might play like a Wipeout or something like a little bit slower. That might sort of like a nursery rhyme version of Wipeout or something. But and there was another gig that I did at the Merbein Hotel. Like, it was just like it's the usual 8 people watching the football, and they've got the horse races on, and they're having a beer. They're not really taking much notice of me. And then, yeah, about an hour into it, like a group, like a hens night come in, you know. So there's about 20 or 30 like Sheilas walking through the place, and they're having a dancing and carrying on. So then I'm thinking, oh God, I've got to sort of wake up now, you know. I was just sort of floating along and playing. And I said, oh, can you play this? And they were sort of dancing for a little while, and they got a stripper's pole right there, right in front of the little rickety stage I play on. So they're twirling around. So I've got one eye what I'm playing, and one eye, you know, how close they're getting to me. And next thing you know, one of them got their foot caught up on a like on my lead on the amplifier, and just pulled it forward like that. It just went bang. I was like, oh no. But it was all good. So yeah, that's good. That's Fender equipment for you, mate. It lasts. So that's sort of 50% of what I'm doing, and the other 50% is doing the getting involved in the radio station, mate. So yeah, so they gave me like a slot, like I put a proposal forward, like just probably in January, February. And yeah, the station manager said, yeah, no worries. And he went through the whys and wherefores of what we have to do. Like they don't really want us to be using, you know, the usual streaming services like Spotify and YouTube. He much prefer that we get our own stuff and download it and just put it on a USB stick, and they chuck it in the database on the songs in the radio, because the database at the station has probably 5 or 6 surf guitar songs I can use. So it'd be a pretty short show if that was the case. So I had to yeah. So Ivan said I had to just go and hit up, like, you know, because I was telling him about, like, oh, I don't want to speak out of turn, but like the Surf Guitar Appreciation Society and all those types of things that are on Facebook and stuff like that, you know. So yeah, I just started hitting people up, and I'm thinking, because you have to get the content from somewhere, and yeah, so I just went straight to the top. I hit up Martin Cilia, Mark Malibu, Sharawaji Records, heaps of other people, and yeah, and those 3 guys at those 3 parties that I mentioned, they've been really good to me, you know, like just helping me out. Like Mark Malibu, I've had a couple of little discussions with him. He goes, it's like when you start your own radio show, you get your first one done, and you know, you want 1 million listeners. Well, it doesn't really happen like that.
Yeah.
So he basically said, just hold your horses, just keep at it, keep refining what you're doing. And yeah, Martin Silly was really generous with he gave me some of the Atlantic stuff and some of his own stuff. And yeah, Sharawaji Records, they've been great. They gave me a heap of content from the bands that are on their label. So it's really just yeah. So that's probably the best way to do it. I mean, you know, if you're on Spotify and YouTube, Brian, you can get anything you want in you, but you don't really have that connection. Like I wouldn't be talking to you, or, you know, any of that type of stuff, you know. So yeah, no, it's I've done 3 episodes so far. So I mean, it's yeah, it's just like once I started the state, like my first program, and started like I can get sort of gigs sort of like at a pub somewhere most weekends. It's sort of starting to become real now, you know. It's not a fantasy or a figment of my imagination. That's happening. So, well, people are ringing you, and I'm always on the phone to hotels trying to, well, trying to get myself in. See, because, you know, it's winter time. Like we're going into winter time here now, and the beer garden sort of scene was sort of quietening off a bit because of the cold weather. So you have to try and innovate and try and talk to these like pub owners and just say, yeah, you know, you got to just try and pick up what you can. Just ring them up. Like you basically got to harass them into it. Because there was one bar in town that said, yeah, they'll play me in once the springtime and summer starts. But I said, look, why you've got Wednesday or Thursday night, you've got karaoke, and I'm thinking. So I was just sort of not so much arguing, but just, you know, why have you got 2 nights of karaoke? Does anyone get there? And the guy explained to me like what it was all about and how they did it and that. So it's all about getting your head around, you know, you're playing at venues and that that type of thing. So yeah, no, it's really been interesting so far. I mean, yeah, I'm only just at the start of it, mate. So yeah, we'll just have to plow on and see what happens.
Yeah. It's interesting. When you had the conversation with Mark, I've had conversations with him too, and the way he does his show is he does a lot and then he spaces them out. And I know I was doing a lot for quite a long time and then just putting them all out at one time. And I don't know if it's because of ego or just because of I want to get it out there. but it's better to spread things out and kind of build up gradually, because people can go back and look at your earlier work when you have a library of things.
Yeah, that's true, mate. Unfortunately, with the radio station, we don't. None of our programs are recorded at all, so you basically have to listen in at the time, which is a very big disadvantage for people probably overseas as well. So, I mean, it's even I'm battling just to get a few people in Australia to listen to it, but there's a few that I know that are listening in, but and that's the thing. Like, I don't have the what is it, catching a wave and the
Yeah,
GTF and DJ Dotty and all that type of stuff. I just don't have I can't archive them, which I'd love to. Everyone would love to, but it's just like it takes too much time and resources from how the radio station is set up. So I mean, I'd love to be able to do that, but I just have to, I just have to rely on people listening in, and that's why I do it only every 2 weeks, Ryan, because I just don't have enough content really. Because I mean, I've got something like 800 odd songs or something, but I'm always putting it out there on social media. If there's any bands
right.
that want to get played, send me some content and I'll chuck it in the database and we'll take it from there. And that's basically how I'm doing it at the moment. So I'm not saying it's the right way or the wrong way, but I only do it every fortnight.
So
Yeah.
what exactly um is your format? Are you telling along the way, telling stories about the music, about your love for the music, the traditional versus the modern, a little bit about the bands, like how much talking and interaction do you do?
Yeah, on the first program, I sort of gave a couple of minutes of, just a bit of a blurb on surf guitar, and that was mainly for because I still have to I want to try and get a local audience as well, so people can sort of get a little bit interested. Hey, we might go and see that bloke. And I always say that you want to come out and see some surf guitar on the weekend, come and see me. I'm usually playing somewhere, but yeah. So the first episode, I just did a couple of minute explanation, and basically in between each song, I'm just getting the system off the computer right, so everything comes up as it is. I'm still, just making sure, getting my nerves right there. So yeah, after pretty much every song I introduce each song, like I just say where the band's from, if I can find some information on them in Wikipedia or from like the Bandcamp, like the Bandcamp profiles and stuff like that. And I do just a bit of introduction, but before each song comes on. So I'm getting to about 15, 16 songs, something like that. Like I only do 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically how I do it. Yeah, so I'm just building up as I go, like you say. So I mean, yeah.
So is it, even though you're at the start, is actually doing the show um as rewarding as you'd hope it would be, just actually being able to physically do it?
Yeah, yeah. And the most rewarding part is, Ryan, it's because you're actually live. Like a lot of these stations that we all listen to, they pre-record. A lot of them do. The
Yeah.
mine, well, I'm there at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, and it's a very lonely place at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night there. So I mean, yeah, but it's well, like I've had enough experience now. So I mean, like sometimes the system will go a different way, and then that's all good though. So I mean, I spent quite a few hours before my first program started making sure that I think I've got everything right. So I mean, yeah, we've all got our little station advertisements that you got to chuck in, and community service announcements and stuff. Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
Well, what is your goal in Australia? Is it to bring awareness to surf music to the country or continent, or is it purely a release for you?
Oh, probably a bit of both, mate. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because, like I was saying, I was getting frustrated, and then I just thought, well, just get out and play, just go ring people up and see what you can do. And like this, the end game for me really is to try and get a surf band going just in town here. Even if I could find one drummer, like I could sort of get around without having another guitar player and another bass player. I mean, I'd like to have one, but getting a drummer, as you all know, is the big key for it. So that's sort of the end
Yeah.
game for me, Jura. If I could get something, like I've been approached to do a Facebook Australian surf guitar Facebook site, but I ain't that great with social media, really. I'm battling to run two two Facebook pages, like my own and the Dodge City one as well. So I just don't have the time for that either. But to have some you know, sort of look to have interactions with other bands around Australia. I know there's probably 5 or so that I reckon I could probably name off the top of my head, but I mean, there isn't any real surf guitar really scene because sometimes people classify it as you know, if you're a band and you live by the beach, well, you're a surf band. Well, that's not really
Yeah.
that's not really right. That's how some people classify it. So I mean, yeah, that's the end game for yeah, for me anyway, to try and raise awareness, of course, and just help out at the radio station. The people there are really good, and it's basically just getting yourself out of this bloody house here and just getting out there and doing things. You know, it's really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, mate. I mean, I've never. This is the best job I've ever had that I've enjoyed, but I'm making absolutely no money out of it. But so the logic's a bit screwed up on that. But anyway, no, I'm having a great time, man. I really am.
So, um, what was the catalyst for you to pursue your love of surf music? Like, what was it that made you say, I need to change?
Jealousy basically, because I see all these bands playing overseas in America and Japan and Europe, and they look like they're having a great time, you know. So I'm thinking, hey, well, I might try and get a bit of that myself, you know. So that was the main motivation. I mean, you know, once you know, I was dicking around for years. I've been playing my guitar. I've had guitars for about 20 years, but I only really got serious in the last probably 3 or so years because I was supposed to go to Europe when COVID came along. So all that got cancelled. So I thought, what am I going to do now? So like I said before, I bought that Gretsch, and I was just dedicated to practicing, you know, 5, 6, 7 hours a day, just and listening, picking things up, thinking, huh. I mean, sometimes, you know, there's lots of things on YouTube where people contribute like tunes from you've never
Yeah,
from bands you've never heard of, you know, and you
yeah,
go, that's not a like I love all that 50s and 60s drag strip type of music, you know, like with the Valents and the Juice Coots and all that type of stuff. I mean, like Dick Dale, of course. So, I mean, yeah, like yeah, I guess the catalyst was, mate, just I wanted to be part of the surf community, but it's because of my location and because I'm out in the sticks, you know, or out in the boondocks as you guys would call it. So I mean, it's sort of just a way to have a release and to really just enjoy something that I really want to do, you know, instead of just working for the man.
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
But you are in, from my perspective, when I received your email, um, I was my eyes lit up. Like I was like, oh my God, I've been so I was waiting for that moment I could meet somebody in that your part of the world that I could make a connection with, that on a regular basis I could communicate with and spread the word. And you,
Yeah,
my friend, are in a unique position in your country to spread awareness because they're just uh, it's huge. You have
yeah,
a giant, a beautiful giant country, and you can reach tons of people and you can influence. All you have to do is play the music. The music plays for itself, you know.
yeah. I mean, that's the whole part of it. I mean, you have to in life in general, mate. You've got to try and make yourself happy, and once you find something that you really love doing, you know. I mean, you know, like I've been to America a couple of times. And I love it. You know, America's a great place. So I mean, you know, that's yeah. And like I was saying before, I was always a bit sort of, geez, I wish I was over there living there with those guys. You know, but I mean, I was talking to a guy from Nashville, strangely enough. I got a contact over there, and I've been there, and he was telling me that it's very like he's a surf guitar player, and he wants to get a surf guitar band going, and he was telling me he's having trouble getting people. I'm going, Nashville, you're having trouble in Nashville getting musicians? It's sort of like the one of the entertainment capitals of the states over there.
Yeah,
And he's saying, and he was telling me that everyone wants to be in two or three or four different bands, so it's hard to get people to commit to do it.
yeah,
And that's the thing I have to find over here too, Ryan, because there's a million sort of things that are intertwined. I'm not uh, everyone that's in a band probably knows this already. Like I don't have to, they don't need to list it for me, but from my perspective, you have to find someone who really loves the music as much as you do. So I mean, there might be times where you find a drummer and he goes, oh, we might play a couple of surf songs, but we want to play the normal Friday night, Saturday night cover band stuff. I'm thinking, no, Sorry.
Yeah.
But and then you have to find the right people, they have to have the passion, they have to have the time to put into it, because I'm assuming, because I've never been in a band before, I'm just assuming that the time that it takes to get songs up and going. Well, a lot of the surf guitar songs are, I wouldn't say simple, but I mean, the beats are sometimes relatively constant. You know, that's yeah, there's change, but I mean, to get the old stuff up and going, like Pipeline and all that type of stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
it should be relatively easy, but you have to find the people that really want to do it. You have to find a place to do it. Like, I've got my neighbours are spread out either side of me here, but once I had a drummer somewhere, I think that friendship was probably going to be stretched a little bit. So you have to find a place to play somewhere. Like, you have to try and find a little shed to rent somewhere off someone, or if I find a drummer, they might have one themselves. I'm not sure. Yeah, so you have to get all that going, and you have to just make sure that you got to keep up with your skills as well. You got to keep playing to make sure so you don't lax off on that type of stuff. But we got a big country in Australia. And there's a lot of, it was really strange to me, because obviously the Atlantics are one of the biggest surf bands ever. They're like,
Yeah.
when Bombora came out in '63, like, they're the only real surf guitar band that had real success that wasn't an American band. So, but that's sort of, and it's obviously never, like, the Atlantics obviously did come back when Martin Silly got involved. That was probably in the 90s or something like that. And but other than that, there's no real template for people to fall back on, because it's, there's no real, we've got lots of different free-to-air radio stations, not just the ones on the net, but like if you actually turn your physical radio on there, you can find a few. But like you said, you really have to raise the awareness, and when you're trying to start something off, you really have to be aware that there's a lot of roadblocks in front of you. But I mean, if you can, on a simple level, if you say, look, all I have to do is find a drummer and a place to play, well, that's a good start. But I mean, that's why I go and play, like, that's why I decided to get out of the house and start going around venues around town and playing, because to give some listeners, so they, that's a bit different. There might be a drummer out in the audience. If I'm on my radio show, I might, because I always just say, like, if anyone wants to join a surf band, just hit me up. And so there might be just one person out there who's a drummer or a saxophone player or a whatever, a keyboardist or something, because it does sound a bit lame, like as you could probably understand, if you're out just playing surf guitar. I don't really want to have a boombox with beats and going, and they have to press another button, and so the beat goes to the song. It's a bit too much for me at the moment, and I think that doesn't look great. It might sound okay, but it doesn't look great to me. So I mean, just doing their surf guitar by myself, like, is obviously a bit lame without the drums and everything else. But you just got to try and find a way around it. It's just as simple as that. But so and the whole thing is, Ryan, is too, like, in 10, 15, 20 years time, when maybe I'm too old to play or anything, and I should have thought, well, why didn't you give it a go, like, back then? So that's what I'm doing now. So in 20 years time, I'm not thinking what could have been,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on the show, and I hope to stay in touch and communicate more with you on a regular basis, if that would be okay with you.
That'll be great, mate. And I just want to thank you, Ryan, because everyone in the surf guitar community really appreciates you, like, because you do the big hitters as well as the guys in the studio, like just the one sort of person band, and everyone really appreciates it, mate. So
well,
kudos to you. Kudos to you, mate.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being a gentleman and doing your part, showing your support for the community.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. One day, mate, I might be able to pack up my guitar and head over to the States and see if I can find a band somewhere if something doesn't happen here. But we'll see how we go.
Awesome.